Hello everyone, welcome back to Renzo Flutes. I'm Renzo, and today we're talking about shakuhachi making, focusing on the crucial element that often goes unnoticed, the middle joint. If you're passionate about traditional Japanese music or just fascinated by the beauty of bamboo flutes, you came to the right place. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more content on traditional instruments and music appreciation. Let's go! The shakuhachi, a traditional Japanese bamboo flute, is renowned for the meditative and soul-stirring tones. Today, we're going to explore the middle joints and the different types that can be seen on shakuhachi. There are a few ways that shakuhachi can be constructed. The two most common ways are either the flute is being a nobekan, meaning no middle joint, or it having one nakatsugi, or middle joint. Some flutes will have multiple joints on the bamboo, but they are quite rare. Nobekan flute. Let's take a look at this flute first. It has no middle joint, and it is an example of a nobekan. There are advantages of having a nobekan flute. Here are a couple reasons. 1. More bamboo aesthetics. Speaking from an artistic standpoint, the natural colors and hues of the bamboo don't get interrupted by the middle joint's design. 2. You never have to worry about air leakage from the middle joint, meaning you save your tone. But there are some disadvantages as well. Repairs are more difficult to do when working on the inside of the flute. For example, if you want to reshape the interior shape of the bore. 2. Finding a flute that is more in line with Western standard pitch can be difficult. Sure, many of the notes will be in tune with themselves, but you might end up with a flute that is overall 10 cents flat or 10 cents sharp. And lastly, it isn't as easy to travel with. 3-ring silver binding. Let's jump and now look at the 3-ring silver binding middle joint. Typically, this type of middle joint mixes both silver rings that you can see here and rattan bindings, which is the wicker wrapping you see in between the silver. Here are some advantages of having a middle joint. 1. The flute comes apart, making it easier and better for travel. 2. Because the flute comes in two, it is easier to change the size of the bamboo when making it, therefore giving you a more accurate pitch. Also, it makes it easier for future repairs. Now, here's another couple things about its disadvantages. The joint over time will loosen, ergo having some air leaks, then affecting your tone. Now, of course, that can be fixed, but it's just another pain. 2. Certain metals are prone to rust, giving the shakuhachi a less than appealing look. So that's a brief view of these two flutes. Let's take a look at this one here, which has multiple joints on it. This is a flute by the esteemed shakuhachi scholar, maker, and performer Araki Chikuho II. It has many joints on it, along with a beautiful makie or gold painting on top. Okay, now let's look at a couple other styles of middle joints that you can have on the shakuhachi. Once again, we'll look at the nobekan, and now the rattan binding only. Next, the black urushi binding, which is very common amongst the early flutes of the 1900s. The 2-ring silver binding. The 2-ring gold binding. The 3-ring silver binding. The 3-ring gold binding. The solid silver binding. The solid silver binding with design. The solid gold binding. The solid gold binding with design, and lastly, one of my favorite, the solid ivory binding. There are many other styles of making the middle joints, such as sakura joints, acrylics, and more. I hope that this gives you ideas for future shakuhachis you may want, and knowing what materials and options are for the middle joint.